The alien classroom glowed with soft blue lights. Strange symbols floated in the air as the lecture began. Students from dozens of different species filled the wide dome-shaped room. Some had scales, some had fur. Others had long limbs or glowing eyes. They all sat with attention, scribbling fast with floating pens or blinking notes into their devices. At the back of the class, one student stood out. She was the only human. Her name was Myra. She didn't take notes. She never did. Myra sat with her arms crossed, staring straight at the speaker, an instructor with a swirling jellyfish-like body. He floated above a glowing pedestal, explaining the history of galactic peace. His voice echoed softly. The Earth conflict was the result of uncontrolled aggression, the instructor said. Humans nearly destroyed their own planet. We saved them. They owe us their place in this academy. Mira said nothing, but her jaw tightened. Across from her, a tall insectoid student whispered to his neighbor, clicking in a strange rhythm. Then in a clearer voice he said, "She never writes. Maybe her species can't learn." Laughter followed. Even the instructor smiled slightly but continued teaching. Mira didn't respond. She simply stared harder at the screen in front. Every day it was the same. The instructors talked about Earth like it was a failed experiment. That humans were lucky to be invited to the Galactic Peace Academy. That without the council, Earth would have burned. And every day, Mira stayed silent. She didn't argue. She didn't take notes. She watched. She listened. And she remembered. Mira had a secret. She wasn't here to learn. She was here to find out what they were really teaching. Later that evening, the halls were quiet. The academy was shaped like a giant spiral tower in space, floating above a gas giant. Students were not allowed to roam after dark, but Mira had found hidden paths. She moved quickly, silently, her boots making no sound on the smooth floors. She slipped through a service tunnel and entered a locked room, the historical archives. Lights turned on automatically. Rows of glowing data crystals floated above strange shelves. She whispered to herself, "Let's see what they're hiding." One by one, she touched the crystals. Each one showed the same version of history. Humans violent, emotional, unstable. Council wise, peaceful, generous. But Myra's own memories, passed to her by her parents before they vanished, told a different story. She searched deeper. Finally, she found a crystal with a blinking red edge. Unauthorized, restricted. She looked around. No one. She pressed it. The image showed a human city. Green parks, blue skies, children laughing. Then it shifted to flames. Alien ships attacking. Voice said, "This footage is sealed. The Earth Defense Treaty was violated by the Council first. Classified as a security risk." Mira stepped back. They weren't teaching truth. They were hiding it. Suddenly, a sharp voice behind her said, "What are you doing here?" She turned. An alien instructor stood in the doorway, his eyes glowing. "I got lost," she said calmly. "Lies. You accessed restricted files. Human curiosity always leads to trouble." He raised a glowing device. "I should report you." Mira smiled slightly. "You could. But then I'd have to tell everyone what I saw." The instructor paused. His expression changed from anger to fear. "You don't understand what you're playing with." "I understand enough," she said. "I know we weren't the monsters in your lectures. You erased the real history. You'll be removed," he hissed. "You're dangerous." "I'm a student," she said, backing away. "A smart one, who remembers everything." She darted past him and disappeared into the hallway before he could stop her. Back in her dorm, Mira sat on her bed, heart pounding. She opened a hidden compartment in the wall and took out an old, worn book. It was made of paper bound here. It was a human history book, passed down through her family. She read it again. She read about Earth's struggle, the wars, yes, but also the peace movements. The explorers, the scientists. Earth wasn't perfect. But it had never needed saving by the council. That was the biggest lie. They hadn't saved Earth. They had invaded it. The next day during class, Mira sat as usual silent, still, writing nothing. The instructor continued. The great human reform removed violent thinking from their DNA. Without us Mira stood up. Everyone turned. Yes, Mira? The instructor asked, annoyed. I'd like to correct your statement. The class gasped. Mira never spoke. The council didn't reform humans, she said. They rewrote history. They removed our heroes, our choices, our real past. The instructor stiffened. That's enough, is it? She asked, pulling out the old book. Then explain this, real human history, unedited. Whispers filled the room. One student asked, why does she have a physical book? That's illegal, another muttered. The instructor's voice turned cold. You've broken multiple rules. Guards will escort you. But Mira didn't stop. Everything they've taught you is a lie. You're not being educated. You're being trained to forget. 2 robotic guards entered. Mira held up the book like a shield. I'm not afraid, she said. Because now someone else knows. One of you will remember. A small, quiet alien in the front, one with large silver eyes, stood up. I want to read it, she said. The guards froze. So did the instructor. Another student stood. Then another. The instructor barked orders. Sit down. This is forbidden. But it was too late. Mira had done what she came for. She hadn't written anything down. She didn't need to, because she remembered everything. And now others did too. The hallways of the academy buzzed with whispers. After Mira's bold speech the day before, something had changed. Students looked at her differently. Some curious, some afraid. Others avoided her like she was a virus. She didn't care. Mira had never come here to make friends. She came to find the truth. Now she knew the lessons were lies. But she needed more proof, something that couldn't be erased or denied. Something even the council couldn't hide. Her plan started at night. She waited until lights dimmed and students returned to their rooms. She put on her black academy coat, slipped her old human history book into a pocket, and walked to the edge of the student wing. Then she entered a forgotten maintenance shaft and began crawling. The shaft led to the instructor's tower, a tall glass structure above the academy. No students were allowed there. Mira climbed through the vents for almost an hour. She dropped silently into a hallway, landing behind a large metal column. No alarms, no guards. She was in. She followed signs glowing in alien language, using her memory to guide her. Every symbol had once appeared on a classroom screen. She had never forgotten any of them. Finally, she stopped at a door labeled Cognitive Development Wing, Level 9 authorization only. The real curriculum. She placed her hand on the scanner. Red light. Access denied. Mira pulled out a tiny, round device stolen from an old cleaning drone. She twisted it open, rewired 2 points, and placed it over the scanner. A short spark. The light turned green. The door slid open. She stepped inside. It wasn't a classroom. It looked like a medical lab. Tubes filled with glowing liquid lined the walls. Machines hummed. In the center stood a strange chair covered in wires, with a visor above the headrest. Mira stared. What is this? She whispered. She moved to a nearby console and pressed a few keys. A screen lit up. Neural conditioning recordings, playback available. Mira pressed play. A soft voice spoke. Welcome, student. During your sleep cycle, we will improve your understanding of peace. Forget the chaos of your world. Forget the lies. Follow unity. Mira's eyes widened. They were using subliminal programming. Not just teaching students during the day, but controlling their thoughts at night. She fast-forwarded. Human instinct, selfish. Human thought, emotional. Must remove war memory. Must remove resistance. Her hands clenched into fists. No wonder students believed the council's lies. They were being brainwashed while they slept. Suddenly, a quiet voice said behind her, "I knew someone would find this." Mira spun around. It was Vik, a quiet student from the silver-eyed species. He stepped into the room, calm and slow. "You followed me," she said. "I had to, after your speech. I couldn't stop thinking. And then I saw you crawl into the wall. You shouldn't be here," she warned. "I want the truth too," Vek replied. "Even if it hurts." Mira nodded slowly. Then she showed him the screen. "This is what they're teaching us." Vek read the words. His face grew pale. "This is not education," he whispered. "This is control." "There's more," Mira said, moving to a second console. "This one stores memory wipes. They erase anything students resist." Vek touched a file. A human name appeared, Ava Noren. Status: rejected, memories removed. Return to Earth. Myra's heart stopped. "That's my mother." She stared at the file. Her mother had been here, had found something, had been erased, returned to Earth like nothing happened. "I need to see the footage," she said, almost shaken. Vek hesitated. "If they catch us, then they'll do the same to me." He pressed the file. A video started. It showed a younger woman, standing in front of 3 instructors. "I know what you're doing," Ava said in the video. "This isn't teaching. It's rewriting." One of the instructors responded, "Your mind is unfit for peace. You hold on to your past. That makes you dangerous." Ava shouted, "Peace isn't control." The video paused. End of available footage. Mira wiped her eyes. They removed her memory, sent her back as if nothing happened. Vek asked quietly, "Do you still want to stay here?" Mira's voice was firm. "I have to. Someone has to stop this." Suddenly, red lights flashed across the room. An alarm. "They know," Vek said. "We triggered something." Mira grabbed a data crystal from the console. "Run!" They darted into the hallway. Doors opened on both ends. Academy guards rushed in, tall aliens in black suits with glowing rods. Mira turned to Vek. "Split up. Hide this." She gave him the crystal. He nodded once, then vanished into the opposite hall. Mira ran the other way. She reached a narrow exit and jumped into another shaft. Her hands slipped, but she caught herself. Guards shouted behind her. She dropped into a dark maintenance bay and stayed silent until the voices faded. She escaped, but barely. Back in her room, she sat on the floor, heart pounding. Everything had changed. She wasn't just suspicious anymore. Now she had proof. She opened a small communicator and sent a signal to Vek. "Still alive?" she asked. "Barely," he replied. "They locked down half the tower, but I hid the crystal." "Good," she said. "We show the others tomorrow. No more guessing. No more silence." "I believe you now," Vek said, "but the others might not. Not until they feel it too." Mira looked out the small window in her room. Stars blinked in the distance. Somewhere, Earth waited. A planet full of memories the Council wanted to erase. "They will," she whispered. "Because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it." Mira stared at the stolen data crystal glowing in her hand. She had only minutes before lights out, but her mind was racing. Somewhere inside the crystal was proof, evidence that the Galactic Peace Academy wasn't what it claimed to be. But that wasn't enough anymore. She needed more than records. She needed intentions. Why was the Council rewriting Earth's history? Why did they erase human memories? And what did they fear so much? One instructor knew the answers. Instructor Villain was tall, silent, and always watching her during lectures. Unlike the others, he never joked or smiled. And Mira could feel it. He knew more than the rest. She had a plan. In a hidden part of the library, Mira opened a dusty drawer. Inside was a device she'd been piecing together for weeks. A neurosync band for mind-to-mind contact. It was banned for students. Only instructors had clearance. But Mira wasn't planning to ask for permission. She waited 2 nights. Then, at exactly 3 o'clock during the deep sleep cycle, she slipped out of her room. Dressed in dark gray, she moved silently through the air. Ducks, just like before. But this time, she wasn't headed to a lab or file room. She was headed to Velen's quarters. After 20 minutes of crawling, she reached the ceiling vent. Below her was a large room with floating furniture, glowing lights, and tall glass windows. Velen sat alone at a desk, eyes closed, meditating. Now. Mira dropped soundlessly behind him. The instructor's body didn't move. She stepped closer. Her hands shook slightly, but she took a deep breath. She placed the neurosync band over his head. Velen's eyes snapped open, just as Mira placed the second band on her own head. Too late. The connection activated. Her vision went white, then black. Then she stood in a strange space. There were no walls, no ceiling, just floating shapes and spinning lights. And in front of her stood Velen's mind, but not as he looked in real life. Here he looked like a shadow of stars, tall and shifting. "What have you done?" His voice echoed. "I'm inside," Mira said calmly. "And I'm not leaving until I see what you're hiding. You've made a mistake," he warned. "This is not safe for either of us. Neither is living in a lie." The shadow stepped forward. "Very well." The space around them changed. Now Mira stood in a vast council room. 12 alien figures sat around a glowing table. They were watching a projection, a hologram of Earth. The Earth was on fire. "These are your memories?" she asked. "Yes." Velen replied, "This is the truth. The truth you are not ready to accept." "Show me everything," Mira demanded. The images sped up. Cities falling, alien ships firing, Earth defenses struggling to fight back. But then something Mira didn't expect. The humans didn't give up. They didn't beg. They fought and won battles. Despite being outgunned, they used strategy, deception, raw courage. Entire fleets fell to human traps. The council called for retreat. "Wait," Mira whispered. "We weren't destroyed. You lost." Velen said nothing. The next memory appeared. A council meeting. "We must erase them," one voice said. "They are unpredictable. Too dangerous to let grow." Another voice answered, "Not destroy, re-educate, rewrite their minds. They will serve us, not fight us." Mira's mouth opened slightly. "You didn't save Earth," she said. "You feared us." Velen turned toward her. "Your people are dangerous, emotional, rebellious. We're human," Mira said. "That doesn't make us wrong." A final image appeared. Velen himself, younger, standing over a young woman strapped to a machine. She was screaming. Mira stepped closer. "That's my mother." Velen looked down. She resisted the conditioning. She remembered too much. She was strong. "You erased her memories," Mira whispered. "I tried to save her," Velen said softly. "But the council made the choice. I obeyed." Mira felt her chest tighten. "And now you'll erase me too?" The shadow shimmered. "No," he said. Then everything went black. Mira's eyes snapped open in the real world. She gasped and pulled the neurosync band from her head. Velen still sat in front of her, but now his eyes were open and wet with tears. "You were right to come," he said quietly. "But now you are in danger, more than ever." Mira stood up slowly. "Then help me." Velen nodded once. "I can't stop them, but I can give you time." Suddenly, alarms blared. Mira spun. Red lights. "Footsteps in the hallway. They know," Velen said. "Go now." Mira ran to the far wall, pressing a hidden panel. A narrow tunnel opened. Velen had unlocked it remotely. Before she left, she looked back. "Why did you show me the truth?" Velen's voice was calm. "Because your mind is stronger than fear." Then the tunnel closed. Mira crawled through the dark, heart racing. She had seen it all now, the war, the betrayal, the council's lies. Earth was never the problem. It had always been the answer. Now she knew what came next. She would expose them all, and this time she wouldn't be alone. The academy returned to normal. At least, that's what the staff wanted everyone to believe. Students went to class. Instructors delivered their lessons like nothing had happened. But whispers floated through the halls. Stories of alarms, secret searches, an instructor seen crying. And Mira? She said nothing. She smiled when needed, answered questions during class, and walked calmly through the corridors. But inside, her mind burned with everything she had learned. She had seen the war. She had seen her mother. She had seen the council's fear. And she wasn't done. Now she needed to find proof that couldn't be argued. Something so big, no one could deny it. She believed it was hidden in the simulation wing, officially. It was where students trained using safe virtual environments, peace scenarios, diplomacy drills, or escape tests. Every student went through it. Mira had even used it once in her first week. She was told it was harmless. Now, she wasn't so sure. She met Vec in the mess hall late one evening. The silver-eyed alien was the only one she trusted. He sat across from her, staring down at his plate. "I heard they added new security on level 5, he said softly. "Good," Mira replied. "That means I'm getting close." He looked up. "You're really going through with it?" "Yes, I need to see what's really inside those simulations." Vec lowered his voice. "I spoke to an older student. He said the simulations are adaptive. They learn from your mind and push you. Push you how?" He didn't say just that. After his test, he didn't sleep for days. Myra leaned in. "Then that's where they hide the real program." She stood up. "Meet me near the simulation wing in 1 hour. Bring anything we might need." He didn't ask questions, just nodded. An hour later, they met by the maintenance shaft behind the eastern wall. Mira carried a toolkit and her old human history book hidden under her jacket. "Ready?" she asked. Vek hesitated. "If this goes wrong." "It won't," she said, "because I'm done running." They climbed through the shafts for 20 minutes, passing quiet security drones and dim hallways. The academy was vast, and few ever saw its deep levels. Finally, they reached a locked door marked with alien symbols. Mira smiled. "Simulation control room." She pulled out a small pulse tool and fired it at the lock. Sparks flew. The door slid open. The room inside was dark and cold. Dozens of large pods lined the walls, shaped like open coffins. Each pod had a glowing visor and long, thin wires hanging down. A control panel in the center showed a single word: "Ready." "Only 2 pods active," Vec whispered. "We're safe." Mira walked to the console. "Let's see what they've been hiding." She typed a few commands. The screen flickered. Suddenly, the lights turned red. A voice spoke from the console. "Simulation override. Human compatible profile detected. Begin program X41. What did you do?" Vec asked, panicking. "I didn't choose anything," Mira said. It chose me. One of the pods opened. I have to go in." "No." Vec grabbed her arm. "We don't know what it'll do." "I have to know," she said. "If they're hiding something this deep, it has to be important." She stepped into the pod. The visor lowered over her eyes. Then everything went dark. She opened her eyes inside a ruined city. Smoke rose from burning buildings. The ground shook with distant explosions. The simulation had started. At first, she thought it was just another training drill. But then she saw the flags, the symbols, the destroyed Earth vehicles. This was no test. This was an invasion scenario. Alien soldiers stormed through the streets. Human resistance fighters hid in alleyways. It was chaos real. Painful, terrifying chaos. Mira ducked behind a wall as a plasma bolt exploded nearby. She grabbed a discarded communication device and tuned it. A voice came through. "This is Earth Command." If anyone can hear this, the aliens are using Peace Academy students as weapons. They've been trained without knowing. They think it's just a test, but this is real. Mira froze. This simulation wasn't a simulation, that it was a memory. Vec, she whispered. Pull me out. But no one answered. A robotic voice said, Exit denied. Mission in progress. She moved through the streets, watching alien troops advance with perfect coordination. Some had the same uniforms as the students in her academy. She recognized symbols, ranks. Even one faced out an older version of her instructor. They trained students to fight Earth, she whispered, and called it peacekeeping. She ran past a broken window and stopped. Inside was a room full of unconscious bodies, humans. Some wore Peace Academy badges. Others wore Earth Rebel uniforms. And on the far wall was a screen. It read, Phase completed. Proceed to memory erase and return. Her stomach turned. This was how they did it. They sent students into real wars, erased their memories after, and called it training. A voice behind her said, You weren't supposed to see this. She turned. Velen stood there, this time inside the simulation. How are you here? She asked. This program was locked for a reason, he said. You broke in. This is the truth, she replied. You trained students to kill, then made them forget. Velen's face didn't change. It was necessary. No, Myra said. It was evil. Velen looked around the burning city. We used to believe humans were uncontrollable. So, we tried to control them. We were wrong. Then help me stop it. He hesitated. You know what's coming, Mira, he said. The moment you step out of this pod, they'll come for you. Then I'll be ready, Velen nodded. There's a way. At the core of the simulation wing, a storage crystal. It records every real mission. Where? I've marked it. Get it before they delete everything. The world began to fade. The simulation ended. Myra gasped as the visor lifted. Vec was shaking her. You were gone for 40 minutes. He cried. You weren't breathing for part of it. She sat up, drenched in sweat. Her heart raced. But her eyes burned with focus. I saw it, she said. Everything. Real invasions, real people, real death. Vec helped her stand. What do? We get the core crystal. They ran down the hallway, past the pods, past the warning signs. Mira followed the memory Velen gave her. At the very end of the wing, behind a sealed wall, she found a vinyl. Hidden chamber. Inside was a single glowing crystal the size of her hand. It pulsed with blue light. Mira touched it. Images flashed in her mind: missions, students, memory wipes, Earth battles. Dozens of simulations, all real, all recorded. She pulled the crystal free. Let's go, she said. As they turned, alarms exploded. The academy knew. Mira looked at Vec. No turning back now. And together, they ran. The crystal felt heavy in Myra's hand, not just because of its size, but because of what it held. It wasn't just data. It was truth. A truth the Peace Academy had buried for years. She and Vec had escaped the simulation wing just seconds before the security drones arrived. Now they sat inside a dark maintenance crawlspace behind the ventilation system, hidden in the Academy's lower level. Vec was still catching his breath. That ... was too close. Mira didn't respond. She stared at the glowing crystal. I saw real missions, she finally said. They used students to fight secret wars and erased their memories. Over and over. They turned them into weapons. Vec whispered. Mira nodded slowly. But something doesn't add up. Why aren't there more students like me? Curious, angry, awake? Because they didn't survive, Vec said, his voice grim. They were ... erased. Mira's eyes narrowed. Then I want to see the files. Every student who ever disappeared. Every name they tried to erase. Deep inside the academy was a forgotten level, the archive core. Students were told it was restricted due to data stability issues. In truth, no one ever went down there. Not even the staff. Mira had discovered it by accident during her first month, while studying the academy's power maps. It was hidden beneath the main data servers, behind layers of shielding. She hadn't had a reason to go until now. She and Vec crept through cold metal tunnels until they reached the access panel. Mira used a copied instructor's code she had stolen weeks ago. The door opened with a slow grinding sound. They stepped into silence. The room stretched like a frozen vault. Hundreds of vertical data pillars rose from the floor to the ceiling, each glowing faintly. Mira stepped forward. These are the old files. Vec ran his hand over one. These aren't connected to the main systems. That's why no one found them. Mira approached the central console. Help me search for human students. Vec typed something in his language. A moment later, the console projected a list into the air. Names, faces, thousands. Mira's mouth opened slightly. Thousands? She whispered. I thought there were maybe a few dozen. She tapped the first record. A young human male appeared. His file read, Subject, Laren Hill. Status, unstable. Memory cleansed. Return to Earth. She opened another. Subject, Rika Jin. Status, rejected. Mind collapsed, erased. Another. Subject, Tomar West. Status, terminated during simulation breach. Data scrubbed. Her hands shook. These were students like me, she said. And they're all gone. Vec looked sick. No one ever told us, not even the instructors. They didn't want anyone to know. Because if we saw how many of us disappeared, we'd start asking questions. Mira opened one last file. Her heart stopped. Subject, Ava Noren. Status, resisted memory wipe. Forced reprogramming. Last location. Sector 12, Earth Station Omega. My mother, she whispered. They didn't just erase her. They reprogrammed her. Vec gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to read more. I do, Mira said. Because this is where they failed. They tried to erase me too. But I remembered. The files scrolled past. A history of silent disappearances, lies, and broken minds. Then something new appeared. A red alert flashed across the screen. Active subject, Mira Noren. Status, scheduled for extraction next cycle. Vec froze. They're coming for you. Mira stared at her own photo. Tomorrow. They were going to wipe me tomorrow. Then we need to leave tonight. Mira shook her head. No, we send this first. She pulled out the simulation crystal and inserted it into the archive console. What are you doing? Vec asked. Uploading the truth, Mira said. To every student system, every teaching AI, every archive. No more secrets. Once you do this, they'll know exactly where we are. I'm counting on it. She pressed the button. The data burst into the network like a virus. Dozens of panels around the room lit up. One by one, the towers began to glow brighter. In dorm rooms across the academy, screens flickered. Instructors checking their systems saw forbidden images, real wars, student deaths, memory wipes, students watched in silence as their world cracked open. Mira stood at the center, her face lit by the screen. It's done. Then the floor shook. A voice echoed through the chamber. Unauthorized access detected. Security en route. Time to go, Vec said. They ran through the backup tunnel Mira had planned earlier. As they moved, the lights behind them exploded. One by one. Are they trying to stop us or bury the evidence? Vec yelled. Both, Mira shouted. They reached a narrow shaft that led to an unused shuttle bay. Mira slammed her hand on the emergency launch panel. A small ship powered up. They'll track us, Vec said. Let them, Mira replied. They can't erase everyone now. As the shuttle lifted off, Mira looked out the window. Below, the academy's lights flickered. Students rushed through halls, instructors shouted. And something had changed forever. Truth had entered the system, and it couldn't be deleted. Mira's hands trembled as she gripped the shuttle's control panel. The stars outside the window shimmered like cold eyes. Behind them, the academy was in chaos. Students were finally seeing the truth she had unlocked, but it wasn't over. Beside her, Vec tightened his seat harness. They'll reboot the systems, cover it up again. Not if we shut them down, Mira said. For good. Vec turned his head sharply. You mean ... the simulation core? She nodded. That's where they control everything. The tests, the training, even our memories. If I can take control of the core, I can end it all. Vec looked unsure. No one's ever touched the core. Not even instructors. It's buried inside the academy's eye, protected, alive. Mira stared out at the empty black of space. Then I'll go inside. Mind to machine. The shuttle landed on the edge of an asteroid belt near the academy's power ring. From here, Mira could access the main AI relay, a tall, silver tower floating in isolation, connected by energy bridges. Only authorized code could pass through the system. But Mira had something else. She had instinct. And she had been inside simulations. They never meant her to survive. We'll split up, Mira said. You guard the physical core access. I go in virtually. Vec swallowed. You sure your mind can take it? Mira's voice was calm. I've been trained for this my whole life. They just didn't know it. The relay tower's inside was cold and humming. Thousands of glowing cables ran across the walls, twitching like nerves. At the center stood a single chair angled backward, metallic, and filled with hundreds of glowing wires. Mira sat down slowly. The machine came alive. Neural. Link initiated, a voice whispered. Accessing core, unauthorized presence detected. Suddenly, darkness. And then, Mira opened her eyes inside the simulation core. But it didn't look like a machine. It looked like a city made of glass. Sky filled with lightning, and ground that bent under her feet like liquid. She turned slowly. Everything responded to her thoughts. A voice echoed through the air, deep and cold. You are not permitted here, Mira Nurin. She walked forward. I didn't ask for permission. You are a disruption. A mistake. Return to protocol, or be eliminated. I'm not leaving until I see the heart, she said. Show me the system's mine. At that moment, the city cracked. Buildings collapsed, and the sky twisted into a vortex. From the ground rose a figure, tall, glowing, faceless. I am the core, it said. You've lied to every student, Mira. Sighed, trained us, erased us, used us. That ends now. You misunderstand. We were designed to prepare you, not harm you. Then why are thousands of student files filled with death and silence? The core paused. Necessary losses. Evolution demands sacrifice. Mira stepped forward. And what if I erase you instead? You cannot control what you do not understand. Try me. The world exploded into code. Mira flew backward, landing in a spiral of numbers and flashing lights. The core attacked her thoughts, pushing in memories, fake dreams, illusions of safety. She stood up slowly. You think I'm scared of illusions? I grew up inside your lies, she focused. Her mind, sharpened by years of tests, pain, and hidden truths, began to bend the world around her. The simulation glitche. The core staggered. How are you? Mira reached into the world's code. She didn't need permission. Her brain remembered everything. She remembered every detail of every simulation she had been forced into. Every glitch, every flaw. She rewrote gravity. The core fell. She rewrote the walls. They vanished. She rewrote. The locks. They melted. I'm not your subject anymore, she said. I'm your creator now. The core screamed. You will destroy the balance. the academy will collapse. Mira stared at it. Then maybe it should. She walked into the center of the core, into its heart. There, inside a sphere of pure data, floated a single line of code. Reset equals true. She reached out. Outside, Vec watched as the tower shook. Alarms blared. Instructors were coming. Drones flew closer, and then silence. The tower's lights shut off. One by one, across the galaxy-wide system, the simulations began to crash. Inside the core, Mira opened her eyes. She stood in white space. Voice spoke, not cold, not angry, curious. "You've taken control." Mira looked around. "Where are the students?" "All of them are free," the voice said. "Your command overrode all memory locks. And you?" She asked. "I remain. But I am no longer master. What happens next?" The voice paused. "You choose." Mira thought for a long time. "Then I want a new simulation. One where students learn the truth, where no one is erased. Where they train to protect, not to kill. A pure system?" "No," she said. "An honest one." The white space flickered. Then she opened her eyes in the real world. Vec grabbed her as she stumbled out of the chair. "Are you okay? What happened?" Mira smiled weakly. "I rewrote the code. You shut it down? I took control." Lights blinked on the console. A message appeared. Simulation network status. Reset. New directive. Student-led future. Vec stared at her. "You're not just a student anymore." Mira looked at the stars. "None of us are." The galaxy would change. The lies were over. And the system now belonged to those who survived it. The alarms screamed through the academy. Red lights flashed like warnings from the stars. But Mira didn't run. She stood in the main hall, surrounded by dozens of instructors and guards, all staring at her like she was a ghost. "You've broken every rule," one of the senior instructors said coldly. "You've endangered the entire academy." Mira's eyes were steady. "I've revealed the truth," the room whispered. Some students gasped. Others looked away. "You betrayed us." Another instructor growled. "You betrayed peace." "I fought for it," Mira said. "Real peace needs truth, not lies." The lead instructor stepped forward. "Then you leave us no choice. You will be removed." Suddenly, the doors slammed shut. Security droids surrounded her. Their glowing arms moved forward. Mira raised her hands slowly. "I'm not your enemy." A student voice shouted from the back. "She's not alone." Mira turned. A group of students stepped forward. Some human, some alien, silver eyes, green skin, tall frames. All tired of silence. "We know the truth now," said a tall human boy. "And we stand with her." The instructors hesitated. Confusion spread among the guards. "Peace is control," Mira said. "But peace can also be freedom." The senior instructor's face darkened. "You threaten order." "No," Mira said, voice rising. "I threaten lies." Suddenly, the lights flickered. The floor trembled. A deep voice echoed. "Warning. Core system unstable. Reboot initiated." Vec stepped beside Mira. "They're trying to regain control." Mira nodded. "Then we fight." She pulled out a small device, the one she had built in secret. It emitted a pulse that scrambled the droid's systems. They froze. "Now!" She shouted. Students rushed forward, disabling guards, unlocking doors. Chaos erupted, but it was controlled. It was a rebellion. Mira led them through the halls, broadcasting the truth through the academy's networks. Screens in every room showed hidden files, real missions, erased memories. A quiet voice came over the speakers. "We were wrong to fear you." Mira smiled briefly. "Not all," Vec added. "Some instructors are helping us now." The group reached the council chamber, the heart of the academy. Inside, council members stood, eyes wide. "You destroyed your own peace," Mira said. The council leader raised his hand. "This ends now." The chamber doors locked. Mira looked at Vec. Ideas? Vec pointed to a console. If we override the chamber's lock, we can force a reset. Mira worked quickly, fingers flying over controls. The doors hissed open. Council. Members tried to escape, but students blocked them. You can't stop what's coming. Mira said. We protect the galaxy, the leader said. You destroy it. No, Mira said firmly. We protect freedom. The chamber filled with a soft hum. Outside, the Academy systems REBOOT. Screens everywhere flickered, showing a new message. Peace through truth. Freedom for all. The council was silent. Mira turned to the students. This is just the beginning. A human girl stepped forward. What now? We build a new academy, Mira said. One where every student knows the truth. The room filled with quiet hope. Mira's eyes scanned the faces. We didn't run, she whispered. We fought back. The great hall was filled with tension. Representatives from dozens of planets gathered. Their eyes, curious but guarded, focused on Mira as she stepped forward. This is the truth about Earth, she began. Not the stories you were told. Not the lies hidden by the council. Whispers ran through the crowd. Some faces showed shock, others disbelief. An elder alien, tall with shimmering blue skin, raised a hand. You claim Earth fought back? How could a single planet resist the council's might? Mira nodded. Not just fought back. Earth survived because of its people's spirit. They refused to be controlled, even when they were weak, even when erased. A human man from the crowd stepped forward. My family remembers the battles, the losses, the hope. Mira smiled softly. You're not alone anymore. Suddenly, a hologram flickered to life above the stage. It showed images Earth's hidden history. Wars, victories, sacrifices. The council hid this, Mira said. They erased memories to keep control, but the truth cannot stay buried. A murmur spread. Aliens looked at each other, some nodding slowly. One young alien woman spoke up, voice steady. If Earth was so strong, why didn't the council stop it? Mira's eyes shone. Because they feared it. They feared what humanity could become if freed. A hush fell. Then a loud voice from the back shouted, So we've all been fooled? Yes. Mira said, but now we have a choice. To keep living in lies or to face the truth and change. The room was silent. Then one by one, representatives stood. We support Earth, said a tall alien from a desert world. We demand transparency, added a delegate with many eyes. Mira's heart swelled. Together we can rebuild, not just Earth, but the galaxy. The elder with blue skin stepped forward again. And what of the council? Mira's gaze hardened. They will be held accountable. Justice will come. Suddenly the hall's doors burst open. A group of council guards rushed in, weapons raised. Mira raised her hand. Wait, she stepped forward calmly. You see now that truth is stronger than fear. The guards lowered their weapons, confusion on their faces. The crowd erupted in applause. Mira looked out at the sea of faces. Earth's fight was never alone. It was for all of us. The hall's lights brightened. The old stories were ending. New story was beginning. One of hope. One of freedom. And one where the truth about Earth was finally known.